It's so tempting when doing solo RPG to bring in as many books as you have and as many resources as you can possibly find, and in a way have the excitement of trying to match a random table you have to a circumstance be part of the gameplay. And I do that often, and that's great. But sometimes you want to do something that is just more contained. And what I'm going to show you here are the solo RPG sheets that have been made by Perplexing Ruins, and I'll put a link to that down below. Everything I show here, I will have links to it down below, but I'm really going to try to stick to just these one-page sheets that are a framework for making a solo RPG adventure. You do need to bring into whatever you're doing a rule set. And for this video and for this game that I'm going to show you, I'm going to be using ShadowDark. I've already made my character with ShadowDark. I've done a couple of videos on ShadowDark, why I think it's so great for solo play. Again, I'll put the links to those, but you can really use any kind of rule set. And we'll just look at the developer notes here that Perplexing Ruins has written. This is a, what does it do? Well, it is statted to play original D&D or white box specifically, but of course anything that is based off of that, like Swords and Wizardry or ShadowDark, or anything you have that is old school essentials will work that you can use. The tables here, and we'll get into looking at what they are, that you are basically using this hex sheet, and I'm going to end up using a different one because this is kind of a little small and hard to see, especially on video from far away. You are just going to be using the tables around here, which are D6 based tables, to create a story that your character is in. And there are some quest tables, there's a little solo engine table, there's some descriptions, items, names for settlements, different types of NPCs you can meet. Again, you could, and the temptation for me personally often is to go outside of this to develop things even more, but I want to show in this video how these can be so effective at just using this one sheet, again, with external rule set for a character you have, and whatever external rule set you use can be either more or less complicated. So with that preliminary, the only other thing I'm going to use outside of here is because I can't find my printed out hex sheets, I'm going to be using this hex sheet that comes from the Fantasy Open role-playing game engine. I have presented this awesome system on my channel. I'll also put a link to that video, and with it I received this kind of reusable sheet that has hexes on it. So I'm going to use this to map out my wilderness, but it has nothing to do with that game system. I'm really just using it for the hexes. And before we get into starting that, I will introduce my character to you that I rolled up outside of this video. And my character is, here we go. My character is Silverfoot. Silverfoot is a half-orc magical thief, and his background is a jeweler. He comes from a jeweler family. Now, I will say, when I made this using ShadowDark rules, I've got just the one character, but I'm giving him attributes from a couple of different ancestries and backgrounds in ShadowDark to bolster him up a little bit. So he's a magical thief, and that in the rules is not exactly per the rules. And so Silverfoot's got some spells that he can cast. He can cure wounds on himself. He has the charm spell. His charisma's pretty low, so I thought this charm spell might be useful with encounters. And he's got a mage armor spell. And I just made myself some notes about the actual properties of these, but basically this will bolster his AC for a fight higher than 12. He also has a couple of special abilities where he can add a +1 to his attack roll and his damage roll for melee weapon, and he is carrying a short sword. So the way the rules in ShadowDark work essentially is you're rolling a d20, you're adding your modifier, and in this case I'm going to get to add 1 to my roll. You're adding your relevant modifier and trying to meet or beat a difficulty score, a DC score, which for a normal action would be 12. A hard action is 15. I bring in, when I play games like this, a D4 often. So between normal and hard, so 12, 13, 14, 15, I will roll, say before I do the roll, my D4. So in this particular case, that would give me the difficulty class as 14, because that's a kind of random way of me interacting more with the environment than having to just decide how hard or difficult something is, unless it's kind of obvious from the story. So I've got my short sword, some leather armor, and a kind of bunch of stuff a thief would have. I've got a crowbar, I've got some empty flasks. I'm carrying this all in a backpack, and I've got some rations and a lantern. The main thing I have here, if you watch my channel at all, you know that I put a lot of emphasis in character creation on adding some small random item that's a trinket that may give me some handle into the backstory of my character. And in this particular case, I decided he was a thief before I rolled on a random table to get the beginning of his name as Silver, and then I decided it was going to be Foot because he's a half-orc. And what I've decided is that he's Silverfoot, the half-orc magical thief with this jeweler background that also came up randomly. The reason they call him Silverfoot, we don't know his real name, is that he perhaps stole or pocketed or put in his boot some type of gem of unknown value that he grabbed when he left, and it could be valuable, maybe it isn't, maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't, but he was known ever after as Silverfoot, and maybe he has been back to his village, maybe he hasn't, maybe there's a legend around him, maybe none of this will be relevant, but this is where I'm feeling the story from the character that we have. And now we're going to move and bring this character into some adventure. And I'll say before we get going that in this video, we're not going to end up concluding this adventure, I'm virtually certain, but I want to show you how you can use these sheets to develop something and kind of get underway and see if these sheets are something that you would like to use yourself. So we don't need ShadowDark right now, and there are notes here, suggestion from Perplexing Ruins to roll a home hex in the middle of the map. Then we roll a quest and the location for the quest. We travel there. And when we're entering a new hex, we will be rolling an explore die, following the prompts, and play it out. Use the solo engine to answer questions, flesh out the world, describe the world, and continue to play. Mix and match all the tables, and they're here to spark and prompt your adventures. He notes, it may seem awkward at first. I always tell people, treat it more like a board game, get into the flow of procedures, then worry about role-playing your PCs. At some point, things usually begin melding together. And again, remember, this is not a game rule set. It's a structure in which to play rule sets solitaire. And he says, use your books of all kinds to have more variety, etc. So with all of those notes, let's get going. And as I said, for this video, I'm really, even though I'm surrounded by a ton of stuff, I'm trying to stick as much as possible to the D6 tables that are offered here, because I think it is enough, and I think it is a good way to demonstrate what you can get out of these. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to roll up a quest. I think before we roll up our starting hex, well, let's just see. We're going to be somewhere in the middle for, so this is going to be our starting hex. here. We'll deal with what that is in a moment. But we're going to roll up a quest. It says roll d6 for direction, d6 for hex, distance. Okay, but we're going to roll up the quest itself first. So let's do that. And actually, we'll use this. So I'm going to roll action target, red and rainbow. So we've got destroy. Ooh, we have to destroy an item. So somehow our quest is to destroy an item. And let's see. The opposition and the reward for doing this. The opposition is going to be, monsters. And the reward is going to be, a special item. So opposition is monsters. And the reward is a special item. There are special items here. So let's see what the special item reward actually is. So again, we're going to read red rainbow. This is the D66 table. 36 is the reward is going to be, a wand. Okay. So maybe in my story, we're going to, our little quest now, this wand is going to allow us to cast some more spells, say. So I think that's what we're going for, the opportunity to cast some more spells, but we need to get there, we have to destroy some kind of an item, and monsters will be opposing us. Now, I don't know whether, well, let's see what type of item we need to destroy to get to the wand. So we have to destroy, 32 is a shard. So we need to destroy a shard, and maybe this shard is something that's preventing the magic from flowing or whatever, and as a reward, we'll get access to more magic, maybe something like that. Now, I want to see, so our opposition is going to be a monster. We could go with a boss type of situation. There are some possible bosses here. I should say there are two kind of sheets here. There's the specific dungeon sheet, and then I'm doing the hex sheet. We may lead to a dungeon, but I'm trying to keep this overland here. And let's see, there are, again, many different ways we can go here. I think what I'm going to do to get this, if the opposition is the monster, it's going to be a monster guarding this shard. And there are 6 types of groups of monsters here. So I'm going to roll for what group, and then within that, again, we're going to go red rainbow. So the second group, and the 5th one, so spider. So in the end, this shard is being guarded by a spider, maybe in some kind of a web. So there's like this, it's probably a magical shard. And let's see what the effects of this magical shard are. So the effects of the magical shard are, it gives a +1. I don't really know what that means. I'm going to re-roll that. I'm not sure what that means. 44 piercing. Okay. So, well, a shard could be piercing. So the effects of this shard that the spider is guarding is, of course, in their web. It's this like piercing shard. Maybe it gives an extra benefit to the spider when we encounter it. I don't know, but there's going to be some massive web here with that we need to destroy this shard. Maybe that means destroying the web. Maybe that means grabbing the shard and using it to destroy the web and therefore destroy the spider. I don't know. And as a benefit, we're going to get a wand. So that is our quest. Now it says we want to roll d6 for direction and a d6 for hex distance. All right, so here we are starting in our hex. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to roll for direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, to see the direction of our quest is going to be 2, which is going to be that way. And the distance away in hex is now, I may need to reorient this whole thing, we're going to see, is 4. So 1, 2, yeah, I got to reorient. All right, let's do this. And realizing now these are slightly oddly shaped hexes. So we're going in this direction. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where the spider web is going to be. So I will fix that up. And before I do that, let's give a sense of where we are. Something about the characteristics of where we are. So we can first look at the terrain. So we're in the grasslands. And so we're in some grasslands, and we'll do the weather. And it's sunny. It's a sunny day in the grasslands. It's an auspicious beginning. And all right, let's give a name to this sunny grassland area. It's kind of by a settlement here. So we've got tables here, prefix, suffix. I'm using a D3, but of course you can make a D3 with your D6, but I'm going to roll first for the prefix is going to be column 2. And so we're going to be at bright. Well, that makes sense with sunny. Bright. The Bright Plain is the name of the place that we are, and it is a little settlement there, and we're going to be heading off toward this web, this spidery area. Okay, I have reorganized things here. I'm not going to be using that other sheet. It's not that it's not great, but it wasn't working for my purposes. Instead, I'm going to use my Dungeoneer Design Journal, and that's not a hex journal, but I've drawn up some hexes. It's fine. So here we are. We are, as a reminder, our ultimate goal is to destroy this magical shard that is being guarded by this spider in a web 4 hexes away from the Bright Plain, which is a little settlement here in the grasslands. It's a beautiful sunny day to start. This is where we're starting. And I've made myself a little procedure here, which is mostly following, well, this side of it is sort of following the sheet. So we are meant to roll our explore die and a direction die to see which way we're going. And then we can roll up some terrain and water and see what we get on the explore. In addition to that, on the back here, to show that it's not part of the solo sheets, but this comes from ShadowDark, I have decided I'm going to make use of my abilities as a thief, that I have the advantage on kind of sneaking and hiding and looking around. I don't have an advantage on looking around, but I can look around. And so what I'm going to do is, after I deal with whatever comes up with the explore die, I'm going to go into ShadowDark, maybe look around and see against a hard difficulty of 15 if I see something. And if I do see something, I'm going to go back to the solo engine. My goal here for this first part of the adventure is simply to get to this web. But of course, I don't have this map, so I don't know that I'm going to necessarily be automatically going in that direction. So to begin, we're going to roll our direction die, which will be the rainbow, and the explore die will be the red, to see which way we're going. And unfortunately, even though it's a bright sunny day, we don't have this map. We're setting off, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in exactly kind of the wrong direction right now. Maybe we'll be able to find a map or something, but I have no indication that I have a map. So we're not just automatically walking this way. That would be too easy, wouldn't it? But it's not super bad, because the explore die at least is not giving us any kind of danger. We're not seeing anything immediately here. We will look at the terrain. So to do that, we have this little D6 here, whether it's the same or new terrain. So it's going to be the same terrain. So it's more grasslands off to the side here. And I think the weather's probably going to be the same, basically. So we are going to now go to look around with our intelligence. We have a +1 modifier there to see if we're able to see anything else. And to do that, I need to get a D20, and we're going to add a +1, and I got to get a 15 or more for us to sort of find something. Ooh, we see something. So keeping as close as possible to what we've got here. We see something, we're going to see what we see. So we're going to roll on this discoveries table, and we got a 5, and that is evidence. We see evidence. So let's see what evidence is. Ooh, we see some bones. Now, so we see some bones over here. Let's go to the Oracle and ask a question. Are these bones related to our quest? We'll do a simple question like that. Are these bones related to our quest? And it's an extreme yes. So this tells me, remember, we're looking for a shard. So perhaps the bones that we see over here, and I'll indicate all this visually later, perhaps the bones that we have found here are going to be, maybe this is a magical bone shard, and this is a piece of it. So we have discovered something related to this. Maybe this thing that we discover is going to be glowing or something if we go in the right direction of this toward our quest. How about that? So we've got some fragments here that are related to the shard. It's a strong yes, and so I'm going to ascertain what the DC is for us to figure this out ourselves. So going back to my between a normal and a hard difficulty, we're going to roll on my D4, and that's a 1. So it's only a DC of 12 for us to figure out, because we're so intelligent that we kind of have a sense of what these bones are. So let's give a roll. We're looking for a 12 or more. We have a +1 modifier on intelligence. Ooh, we got a 12 without it. So we do figure out that these shards, there's a strong yes, are related to the shards here. And what that's going to then tell me is that I know the direction I'm going now. So we're going to be able to basically essentially make a right turn here. And as we move on, we're going to dispense with rolling the direction die. We're just going to roll the explore die, because now we know we picked up these magical these bones that are related to the bone shard that are sending us in the direction to maybe find the pair and put that together. And that's maybe when we do that, we've got the sort of opposite here. So what we found is the thing that's going to be paired with the other bone shard, and when we put them together, it's going to make this big destruction, and that's how we're going to solve our quest. Maybe we don't have to necessarily, it's guarded by the spider, so we're probably going to have to deal with the spider, but maybe it's not killing the spider that destroys the shard. It's taking this bone shard that we just found, pairing it with its opposite to destroy it, and thus solve our quest. So we're going to move on. We're going to roll and explore, go back to rolling the explore die. We got a 1. Again, that is per the chart here. That is a nothing. So we don't see anything off of that. We are going to do the terrain roll to see, are we still in the grasslands? Oh, it's a new terrain. So these are the grasslands. We're moving this way. The new terrain is going to be, more grasslands. So I guess, it's just grasslands. Now, as an aside, why is this relevant? Well, I think there is a chart somewhere. If we do have an encounter, there are encounters by terrain, and that's why you want to know where you are, because it's going to help you figure out what that encounter is. But for the time being, we're just continuing to wander around. So we're walking along, and we're going to go again to see whether, per my own little rules, are we finding something else. So again, it's going to be this intelligence roll with a +1 modifier against a hard difficulty of 15, and we roll a 13. So we don't see anything else. We're just going to continue on. There doesn't seem to be danger, and we don't see anything else. All right, here is the current state of affairs. We are just sort of wandering around the grasslands now. We could go back through the Bright Plains if we wanted to, or I think we're just going to move in this direction, and we will roll the explore die and see what we get. Another 1, again, another nothing. So per my rules, we're going to do a search check, rolling our advantage, or excuse me, intelligence. I say with advantage, that's wrong. We don't have advantage on it, and I haven't, in fact, been rolling it, but the DC there is 15, so no, we don't see anything else. Oh, I needed to roll the terrain, so let's do a terrain roll there. 5, that's going to be a new terrain, and the new terrain is going to be some woods. So we're into some woods here, but we don't see anything. Maybe it's a real thick woodland, and maybe even that would have been an extreme check to see anything, but regardless, we don't see anything. However, so these are going to be some woods, and let's give the woods, maybe we'll give the woods a name. So we've got some settlement names here, but let's see what we come up with for the woodland name. So again, I've got my D3, so my prefix, so it's going to be the frost and the frost river woods. So maybe there's a river through these woods. It's a cold, icy river through. All right, so we're moving on, and we are rolling up our, wow, I think I've rolled so many. I think I've rolled 1. Maybe this die is bad. I've rolled 1 on every explore type. I really think that in this video. In any case, it's more nothing, but I have my own little procedure here to give us a little bit more excitement. And I can't find the card, but we know now what we're doing. We are rolling our intelligence +1 modifier against a DC of 15 to see if we do discover something, and indeed we do. It is a 19, so we'll then go to the discovery table here and see what it is we actually discovered, and that's this D6 table right down here. So let's, I'm not going to roll that other die. We discovered, ooh, evidence. So evidence, here's the evidence table, and evidence of what? We were some sort of tracks. Well, I suppose, I mean, do spiders leave tracks? We discover here in the, I forget, are we here or here? I think we're in the woods still. We discovered evidence, it's tracks, and let's see, let's go to our little solo engine and use something we haven't done here. I'm going to say it's evidence of what? I'm going to roll on this action and theme table. So we're going to read red rainbow for action and theme, evidence of attaining wealth. So evidence of attaining wealth. Now, I'm going to make a note of this. I have my discovery and evidence is attain wealth. I will tell you that one could, at this point, decide that that is a related quest or in connection with this quest, our immediate quest. It could be a sub-quest that after we destroy this magical shard, then we want to follow up on this evidence of attaining wealth. Maybe, you know, we would figure out what connection there is. We could also abandon this quest if we no longer are interested in that and explore a little bit more what it might mean to attain wealth, or, you know, the evidence of attaining wealth. We're a thief after all. You know, we are a thief after all. So maybe for us, this is going to cause us to abandon our quest. All right, we're going to continue on. I'm switching out my explore die, and we're going to give it a roll, and we got a 6. That is that's a danger. That is a danger in the woods. And let's see. So now we're going to go to these tables here and roll and see what type of danger this exactly is. We got a 2. So there's some sort of animal in the woods, and we can see here are the charts for that. So we've got, we're in the woods, and we're going to encounter one of these 5 things. And I rolled a 5. Ooh, it's a spider. And that actually makes sense. Maybe because we're on the path to this big web, maybe this spider is one of the minions of the of this boss. And we could roll if we wanted. I think there's a reaction table, but honestly, when have you encountered a helpful or a curious or even, well, maybe an indifferent spider, but I don't know. We got to kill this thing is the bottom line. So to do some combat, I'm going to go to ShadowDark for my rules on that, and we will encounter this spider and hopefully dispense with it pretty quickly because we don't have a lot of health. Okay, a few things to go over. First of all, that I kind of messed up a little bit. I realized this spider is not in this forest here because we had moved to another hex. So the first thing I need to do is roll and see if in fact this terrain has changed at all. So we will do that roll and then act accordingly. All right. So the terrain is the same. So, okay, the spider is in the forest, so we took care of that. And the other thing is, I will draw this up, is that, of course, I was not accurate when I said, like, we're just going to go kill this thing. Maybe we can try to sneak by it. We don't necessarily want to encounter it. So what we're going to do is, there's two things. There's two different types of spiders there's a spider stat here, but as I am using ShadowDark, I want to go to what they have, and they've got two different types of spiders. They've got a giant spider and a regular spider. So I think before we know what we're going to do here, we could do just a 50-50 roll. We could decide whether we are able to figure it out ourselves. Maybe that's the way we're going to go. And here we are. We have the spiders. Sorry about that. We've got the spider and the giant spider. The boss monster here is on the stat for the dungeon. So what we're dealing with here is our boss monster is Grilza, the Great Brood Mother, and here are her stats and her tactics, and she's the one in the web. She also has young spiders that she can send out as one of her tactics, and if we get there, we will be dealing with that. But there are as I mentioned, two different types of spider. So I think what we're going to do is maybe we will see whether we can we're in the forest, we're looking up maybe in a tree. It's kind of hard to see, but we'll use our intelligence. We're going to say it's somewhere between hard and extremely hard, and we'll do our D4 roll to see what the DC is. So it's 3. So it's 17 is the DC for us to figure out what type of spider this is, regular or giant, before we try to sneak by it or encounter it or whatever. We will do that roll. We'll add our +1 intelligence modifier. So we got to get a 17 or more. We did not. So we can't tell. There's a spider up there. We know there's a spider up there. We don't know what it is. I think we're going to try to sneak by it. And to do that, we have advantage on sneaking. And this is meaning we're going to roll 2 D20s to try to successfully sneak by. And our modifier for that is a +1. And we're going to say that, again, we're going to determine it's somewhere between hard and extremely hard to do. And that was a 1, so it's hard to sneak by. So 15 or more, we have, as I said, rolling on with advantage. So we'll roll 2 D20s, and we're going to take the better roll and add 1 and hope that we get 15 or more to sneak by this thing and not have to deal with it. We got a 10, and we got a 15. So we can sneak by, very quietly sneaking by through the woods. This spider, we're never going to determine whether it's a great spider or a giant spider, but we are moving on. We're getting ever closer to this web where we know we will have that boss spider. So we'll roll up the Explore die here, which is a D6 roll, to see what, if anything, happens. We got yet another one, so nothing happening there, but again, with our own perception, something may happen. Let's not forget to do the hex roll for terrain, same terrain. So there's basically this forest. This is the forest river, and it extends all the way to this web. Now, one thing I want to say, I noted down, we did get that thing that there was like that evidence of wealth thing here. And as I was drawing the map, remember there was a river. I decided to make the river go all the way to the end and make this kind of a coastal area here with a river, with a bridge in the forest. Evidence of wealth says to me that maybe here there's some kind of like troll hiding some money or something like that. So this is now a new point on the map where we may choose to go back and find something or whatever in further adventures. But right now we're still moving through the forest, and we want to see whether through our own looking around and intelligence there is anything to be seen. So again, we're back with the 15 DC with our +1, and no, we don't see anything except moving through the forest. We are finally approaching this web, and right smack in the middle of the web, we're getting to the beginning part of our quest, our basic quest here, which is we need to destroy the magical shard that is guarded by this spider. And this spider is a lot to deal with, I'll tell you, because they have they're going to have a ton of hit points. We are rolling, I think we've got the hit dice is 10 here, and I'm pretty sure those are D8s. If we look, I'm going to look to ShadowDark to sort of figure out, but I think for this sheet it would probably be D8s. All right, I've got 5 D8s. I think D8s are the die I have the least of always. So we got 4, 3, 1, and 6. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 14. I guess that could be worse. So we got 14 plus 14, 24, 25, 28, 34. So we've got 34 HP on this spider. That is going to be rough. We only do a D6 damage, and even our spells, the mage, we don't even have, we can cure our own wounds, but we don't even have an offensive spell. We just have our D6 for our dagger. I think, well, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to try to sneak up on the spider. Number one, if we successfully sneak up on the spider, we will gain advantage in the round. I don't know if it's the whole fight or the round. I'll have to check on that. So we're going to see, we got this big spider. She is the brood mother, and she is in this massive web. Maybe we peer through the trees to see if assuming our sword is still in the forest, to see if we can see this magical shard somewhere, if she's got it in the webbing of the trees. But we're going to sneak up and see whether we can, catch her by surprise somehow. So to do that, we're going to roll our 2d20s. This is going to be, and I'm going to call this extremely hard. I mean, there's no way around it. It's extremely hard, which is the DC of 18. So we can't. We walk in, we step on a twig, whatever. She opens one of her many eyes. Maybe she has many eyes, and she sees us. So we did not surprise her even a bit. And we can see that she's got some tactics here. Now, to determine who goes first in this fight, we're looking at her, she's looking at us. We are going to do an opposed roll, each using our dexterity modifier. Let's see, does she have a dexterity? She doesn't have a dexterity stat here. We're going to pick up from ShadowDark the dexterity of a +3 for the giant spider. So she's going to get a +3. We're going to have our +1, and the higher roll will go first. She's going to be the black D20, and it's, ooh, she rolled a 4. That's awesome. We rolled a 12, so we're going to get to go first, at least. What we're going to choose to do is, instead of attack her, we're going to cast our spell. We're going to cast our Mage Armor spell, and we're going to cast it on ourselves, and that is going to increase our AC for, I believe it is the entire, I think it's 10 rounds. Let's check it out here. Just remind ourselves, this is why I got this spell. All right. The way it works in ShadowDark is to cast the spell, you use your intelligence modifier against an AC of 10 plus the tier of the spell. So in this case, it's 11 to see if you cast it. It lasts 10 rounds. We can put it on ourselves, and it's an invisible layer of magical force protecting our vitals. Our armor class becomes 14. If we rolled a crit, it would be 18 for the spell's duration. So we're going to raise our AC right now is 12. Listen, we need every help we can get. So we gained advantage. We're not going to run up with our dagger. Instead, we're going to try to envelop ourselves with this spell. I don't think we get advantage on spell casting. So we're looking for an 11 or higher. 15, great. So we've cast the spell. So our AC for 10 rounds is going to be an AC of 14. And we'll just sort of keep track of the rounds here. I don't know that we could even survive 10 rounds of fighting, but we will keep track of it in this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, there we go. This is round 1. AC equals 14. All right, so let's take a look at here. We have the tactics of Grilza, the Great Brood Mother, and she is in her web looking at us up there in the tree. And what does she do? She decides to jump into range. So maybe initially she was out of range. She's jumping down into range. That's actually pretty good for us because we might not be totally ready, but we are going to attempt to stab her with our dagger. It's really all we can do at this point. I mean, we have a rope. I don't think it's reasonable that we could try to tie her up. I think we just have to go for the best that we can do and just try to stab her. I wish I had a better spell, but be that as it may, we are going to be rolling our strength here. We get a +1 to our roll, and we need to be better than her AC of 16. So that's tough. That's going to be tough. Let's give it a roll and see what we get. We got an 18. So we don't even need our modifiers. We stab her. We do a d6 +1 damage, and we did 3 points of damage. So she is down to 31 health, and she's going to turn around and she is going to try to web us. And to web us, we have to do a save to break free. So she shoots out a web for over us, and we're going to need to use our dexterity against a hard modifier of 15 to try to get out of the way of that. Our dexterity is a +2, so we have rolled a critical fail. That's a 1. Honestly, being fair, having rolled this critical fail as we were webbed by the giant spider with our HP of 8, I think it's pretty clear that we just died. I really do. I mean, I can't see a way out of that. Being fair, I think that was a really quick end to our Silverfoot, the half-orc magical thief. I think he just got webbed to death by the giant spider. I mean, I don't know what else. I mean, I'm not sure what else that would mean, honestly. We don't have... I think there are tables in ShadowDark for critical failures, maybe, but I'm not sure on the attack. But honestly, anything else other than that, I would just, continue on. But think we just had a sudden demise. Well, you know what? Hey, I think we died. We died by web. I mean, that happens. We died. I wasn't expecting it, but I don't think I've really had this come up before in a video. And it's reminding me of a video I did a long time ago where a whole bunch of my characters fell into a pit, one after the other. I had a party of 4 and they all just kept falling in. And, you know, sometimes that happens. And that's kind of what happened here. So I'm going to end. I'm going to sum up. I hope that this gave you a nice demonstration of these. I guess you can't really call them single sheets, but they're each kind of 2 sheets that are structures to enable solo play with any rule set. And this is a look at the dungeon one that we did not do here. If there's interest in my covering the dungeon one in a manner like this, please let me know, and I will consider doing that. There are, I think, a ton of many more dungeon mapping games out there, which is why I really wanted to show the overland portion of it, because it allows for just a different type of structure. We had a little quest here. Perhaps we could have done a little bit more to try to not just focus immediately on tackling this clearly superior being. I could have explored more. There were definitely other things that I could have done, maybe gone back. Maybe the evidence of wealth was some magical weapon I could have tried to, get from maybe a troll here and fought the troll for that and taken the magical weapon and used the magical weapon against this. Or maybe the wealth was just buried scrolls that had kind of more attack spells that I could have used. Any number of those things would have been viable narrative choices to develop. That I didn't do that. I kind of focused in a very linear manner in just going to the spider and attempting to destroy it to get that magical shard. It was a mistake. Now, I suppose, we are still carrying that other piece of the shard. I suppose we could try to, as our last effort, try to stab the spider with it, and maybe it would have had it unleashed its magical evil onto the spider and blown it to bits, but that seems a little far-fetched. I mean, the whole thing is far-fetched, right? But anyway, didn't do that. Just died. Just died. So, hope you enjoyed watching, and thanks for tuning in.